Greetings, family, friends, volunteer cadre, members of the Friends of Hobbs, and of course our dedicated Friends of Hobbs board members. We sure have missed you the last couple years and wanted to bring you a quick update of what we've been doing during that time period. My name's Mark Clippinger. I'm the Parks Superintendent, and again, I want to thank you for all your work and dedication from the team here at the state park and the visitors you serve. We thank you for all that effort. It has been a challenging couple of years, as we all know, with the pandemic. It's impacted everyone's lives, obviously, some more than others, with sickness, health issues, even death. Unfortunately, it also has impacted everyone's way of life, style of life, and your ability to get out and visit and interact with us, particularly the volunteer cadre. Unfortunately, as you have, we've had to wear masks to get through this pandemic, and we are still doing that at the offices, the administrative area, the visitor center, and the state park when we greet and work with you in those internal spaces. Hopefully in the near future, we'll be done with this and we can get back to our normal operations, providing educational programming more so, interacting with you closer, and we're looking forward to that as a staff and as volunteers. What we want to do with the remainder of our time of this segment of the video is to share with you what we have been doing behind the scenes during this last 2-year period when we haven't been able to interact with you, sadly. We have had 4 major construction projects and 3 minor projects going on, much less all the visitation we received during the pandemic. Believe it or not, our state parks in Arkansas, as well here at the Hobbs, were visited like they'd never been visited before, breaking records in most locations. So people actually got out and enjoyed their parks during this troubling time, which was comforting to know. But here at Hobbs State Park Conservation Area, we've been focused on construction and working with the recreational opportunities we have ahead of us. I mentioned what we have been completing and working on over the last couple years. Let's go take a look at that. Come with me. As you come in the Visitor Center entrance drive, you'll notice one of these projects immediately to your left, and that is our new monument trailhead. And along with the trail that we opened up a couple years ago, the new 18 miles of trail, we have now created a parking lot designated for that trail, along with access to the Hidden Diversity Trail. As many of you are aware, a couple years ago we opened up this new 18-mile multi-use monument trail. Intended use for this particular section of trail on the park is for mountain bikes and hikers only, at least in this section. This was a cooperative project between Arkansas State Parks and the new Arkansas Parks and Rec Foundation. They provided the funding and we helped assist in the construction project as it went along, both on-site and in our Little Rock office. It includes the 18 miles of trail along with tunnel under Highway 12, multiple beautiful cedar bridges, and of course these meeting structures in the background here where you can get together with your family and friends and gather. What we did not have at this trail that would allow you access to the Hidden Diversity multi-use trail as well as the Monument Trail was a parking area. So during the pandemic, we already had funding for this. State Parks constructed this parking area that contains about 44 parking spots that we needed to support this facility. As part of this parking lot construction project, we included parking spaces for the new karst campgrounds we're going to show you later. You can reserve these campsites online under Arkansas State Parks, and your site will be reserved for you. There is a fee associated with them, $15 plus tax, but you've got a designated location you come to, and when you see the campsites, you'll see how special they are. And within this parking area is also a new restroom to support this facility. Well, as you can see, we're on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Beaver Lake, and the park adjoins 26 miles of the core shoreline. And off in that background is the Karst Loop Trail of the monument system. And now you're heading and looking out into the Van Winkle arm of Beaver Lake, which the majority of that arm is surrounded by Hobbs State Park Conservation Area. As you swing back around looking back into the park again in the conservation area, you'll be back on the Karst Loop Trail. It comes right down to this rock outcrop. And in the background, you can see the new 6 campsites that were constructed to support this trail. It's the first bike camping in northwest Arkansas. Obviously, hikers can use it as well. And let's go take a closer look at those campsites. Just below you is the Karst Loop Trail running the edge of Beaver Lake. Look at those fall colors. I don't understand why you're not out here camping right now. You're looking at some of the best campsites in northwest Arkansas, starting at campsite number 1 and now panning over to where I'm on campsite number 2. This project is our third major construction project we completed during the pandemic. And once again, it was a cooperative project between Arkansas State Parks and the Arkansas Parks and Rec Foundation with seed money from the Walton Family Foundation. This is provided by Camping in Northwest Arkansas, as well as a longer backpacking opportunity for us. And we have 6 campsites in here, all available for you to reserve and rent. You'll see the remaining, how close they are and how they're located closer to Beaver Lake for you to enjoy. We did not put them directly on the lake. We wanted you to have the woods experience when you were here. Come see us. Come enjoy these campsites. Well, as many of you that have used the new Karst Loop on the Monument Trail know, you've parked sometimes down at Page Sawmill Road. That road's getting crowded with traffic, so we in State Parks have decided to build a parking area to add to the Karst Loop system, and you see that now. It is at the intersection of Rambo and Huckleberry, just above the Page Sawmill Road section. It's got 23 additional parking spots in it. It gives you a spur to access on the trail up higher than it does Page Sawmill Road. And we're going to add a restroom here this year, coming year, and a water fountain access to water at this location. We just opened this up, believe it or not, yesterday. As you can see outside the visitor center entrance, we've got 3 smaller projects I mentioned that we've been working on. This one most recently, and you can see our visitors coming out with Carla Berg, your volunteer coordinator, walking down the walkway, interpreting the native plants that have been recently put in again by Chris and dedicated volunteers. Thanks to the Friends of Hobbs, we've always wanted to put a pathway out into the native plant planting. And as you can see, that got accomplished here recently. Our goal is to identify all these plants, all native plants again that have been installed along that path for visitors to enjoy and learn more about the Ozark region and the plant communities within. Thanks again to the funding for this project from our friends and a bunch of dedicated volunteers to make this happen. As you can see from Carla leading that little hike along the trail, she is a Carla of all trades. She's not only your volunteer coordinator, which thankfully is funded by the Friends of Hobbs. We would not have this position from the state if it wasn't for that. She helps us coordinate all of you and a lot of our projects that we have out there, and she's very skilled and talented, leading hikes, working the front desk, assisting us where we need to be. Thank you, Carla.
You're welcome, Mark. My pleasure. Happy to be part of the team.
As most of you know, inside the visitor center, we have an animal display area. This too was Friends of Hobbs purchased for us years ago, so we could share with our visiting public some of the species that exist in this area. This hallway gets full of folks and gets crowded at times, so we are going to be moving these animals into a permanent location, into a new facility. On the wall behind the current display space, we're going to be putting a resource management educational exhibit that will rotate with various projects we have going on resource management wise in the park. As most of you know, our name has conservation in it, Hobbs State Park Conservation Area. Resource management and conservation issues are very important to our team here at the park and our volunteers. As we were talking about moving the animal display area further into the visitor center, you can see it's in the exhibit gallery now. And thanks to the Friends of Hobbs, one of the 3 smaller yet very important projects, we have permanently built animal display cages where the citizen science area was prior to give some more area to work with these animals and show them in a greater light and demonstrate the species within the Ozark region. We'll not only have terrestrial animals in here, but we're also going to include aquatic animals, darters, smaller fish species within streams and creeks. So we look forward to you coming, seeing that again and the change we're making. But once again, this would not have been possible through state funding, but Friends of Hobbs and your membership. All right, so I wanted to take you into the Education Pavilion to show you what you did to help us solve a problem at the park. And that problem was when we had school groups come out, the school children, multiple buses, there was no location for these kids to eat at, or when the weather was foul, when we were outside, we couldn't take them outside in a covered facility. We had dreamt up this facility when we were designing the visitor center. We just didn't have the funding to do it. Thanks to the Friends of Hobbs and their support, they contributed a large sum of money to make this facility happen. This is a $550,000 construction project, and the Friends contributed almost half of that funding to help us make this vision come true and this dream. We now can bring school children out. You can rent this facility if you would like for your family and friends, and we'd be glad to have this facility available to you. As you can see, looking at the facility, the architecture was donated by Bry Architects in Rogers. Rich Bry is also on the board for the Friends of Hobbs, so we appreciated that donation as well. This ended up being the largest capital contribution of a construction project, a capital project, in State Park's history. So we can't thank you enough, and that shows you how important your membership is to the Friends of Hobbs. Let's take a closer look at the facility. As you can see from inside the Education Pavilion, you see the Ozark Plateau Trail in the background, some support facilities with a grill and a campfire. This is going to be what most state parks have, what they call an amphitheater. This is where we're hoping to start doing night programming here, or evening programming, to bring more guests in to visit the park. As you can see, this can be set up with picnic tables. We do have support of chairs and tables for your rental as well, or for our needs as we do programming. We also have the ability to display programming in here in the evening, and you can see the architecture just incredible. And amazingly, look how it matches the background of the fall foliage out there. Isn't that beautiful? Let's go look at the inside a little bit more of the pavilion. Within the new Education Pavilion, we obviously have some support facilities for you to use if you rent it or we need it, again, for our facilities. And we've created a maintenance and storage area here within this unit. And within it, we have a refrigerated unit for you to keep your items cool or cold. We have a work table in here, and of course the storage of our tables and chairs. Very essential part of this facility. As you come around in this interior hallway area, you'll see we have restroom opportunities, 3 types, including a family restroom for you to use. Again, back out front of the Education Pavilion, I do want to share, we've talked about 2 major construction projects now, and we're still in front of the second one, the Education Pavilion. But state parks did not have enough funding to put some landscaping in on this facility. So as you see in front of me here, our staff, led by Chris Pistol, put in native plantings. We've done that for the history of all our facilities. We use native plantings and materials. So you can see we've created a native planting garden here, a pollinator garden, which we're working on with the pollinator group in the state of Arkansas, planting native plants on in front of the building, and even using native materials within the building. This is native limestone to the area. You see that throughout the park, and we've done that from the beginning of all our construction projects. Although we've been talking about a lot of the construction projects that we've been working on during the pandemic, I did want to talk to you about some of the conservation measures we've taken as well. As you know, the staff and the team of volunteers here that help us at the park, conservation and resource management is very important to this park. Most of you are aware that 23% of the state park's land holdings sit on this over 12,000 acreage in the entire state. So we're not big land holders. Okay, Mike's got you focused in on a patch of stilt grass along Rambo Road. As you can see, it's a grass-like material, but the problem with this is it suffocates everything. There'll be football field size areas or entire valleys and hollows covered in this stilt grass, crowding out the native species. So we've put a lot of effort in August and September to try to eradicate this particular species. We've got a lot more work to do. We'll come back to the areas we sprayed this year and try to, hopefully we'll minimize what we have to spray for next year. As you can hear in the background, Mike and I have moved over near the shooting range. I wanted to show you stilt grass and its impacts on the forest better. As you can see in front of me here, all along this log, and as Mike pans out through there, that is almost all an invasive species we've been talking about, stilt grass. So you can see it can literally consume the forest. We sprayed in the shooting range area. We missed this particular spot. So we're going to get back this next year and spray it again in August, September time. Now, conservation measures we've taken haven't been just invasive species. This is the latest one we worked on recently. We have continued to work on the last 2 years during the pandemic, our hunting season management, our other projects, including management of the species up at the visitor center. Staff and volunteers have expanded our conservation measures up there, trying to put more native species into that area, more Ozark region and Hobbs-oriented species, so we have a native environment there. We also have put extra energy in the last couple of years in our Ozark chinkapin plot and trying to propagate those species and manage them better to bring that chinkapin species back into the Ozarks. As you know, we're cooperators with the Ozark Chinkapin Foundation, trying to reintroduce that species throughout the Ozark region. So conservation on the park is an ever-going process. We take it seriously as a staff and volunteers, and we want you to help us with this as well. Welcome to the Hobbs shooting range. We stopped down here because I mentioned we have 4 major construction projects we got completed during the pandemic. One of them was renovation of the shooting range. Most of you know we closed the shooting range in April of 2019 because of a safety hazard. We had to reevaluate our options during that time, work construction projects out, and just recently reopened in June. So we changed the hours of operations, as you see here. And today, on this Wednesday, you can see it's pretty busy here. It's hunting seasons. This facility always gets a lot of use. Prior to the pandemic, we were getting 8,000 to 10,000 users a year for this range, and we were collecting 4 tons of lead that we were keeping out of the environment. Let's go down and see what change we made to the shooting range since that time. Those of you that have used the shooting range over the year obviously have noticed, if you've been here recently since June, there's been a major change. Our lead capture system has been removed. We ran into a safety issue, as I mentioned, and it was going to be more cost effective for us to not rebuild that system at $500,000, but instead build our berm 5 feet higher and build it thicker, and that's what we did. There are reclamation companies out there now, which we didn't have available to it prior to this, that will come on site, pull the berm down when we need to 10 or 15 years from now, reclimate the lead out of it, and then we'll rebuild the berm. And that's how we're going forward with management of this site. So again, one of our 4 construction projects during the pandemic. And I know many people are glad it's reopened. Well, that closes out our updated tour for today. Mike and I want to thank you for joining us, and I do want to say your state park team is hard at work even during the pandemic, along with a select amount of volunteers. We are looking forward back to get our educational program up and running, one of our pivotal pieces for the park, hopefully after the first of the year with approvals from the Little Rock office. As you can see, there's been a lot going on, mainly behind the scenes, some of it out front with construction projects, but kudos to our team. I want to thank you for being a member of the Friends of Hobbs. Your membership is critical. A lot of this work wouldn't have got done. A lot of those smaller end capital projects wouldn't have got done without your support. You're vital to that. This is your state park, and we look forward to seeing you again, hopefully more often after the first of the year. And thank you for everything you've done for us here at Hobbs State Park.